Admiral Catherine Drake stood motionless before the curved viewport of Europa Station, her weathered face illuminated by Jupiter's perpetual glow. The massive form taking shape in the construction dock before her represented humanity's greatest gamble, and perhaps its last hope. The USS Blackstar hung in space like a hole in reality itself, its dark, matter-infused hull absorbing nearly all light that touched it. "Final systems check complete, Admiral," announced Captain Marcus Torres, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "Dark matter containment is stable at 99.9%. Catherine nodded, her silver hair catching the starlight. After 20 years of secret development, Project Nightshade was finally ready. The hegemony had thought humans would follow the same technological path as every other species, pursuing antimatter drives and quantum shields. They hadn't counted on humanity's talent for thinking sideways. "Status of the hegemony fleet?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. The aliens had dropped all pretense of diplomacy in the past week. Lieutenant Emma Chen, the ship's quantum systems specialist, pulled up a holographic display. "Their advanced fleet has already taken New Mars, Admiral. 17 colonies have gone dark. Their main armada will reach Jupiter space in less than 72 hours. They still think we're primitive," Catherine mused, watching as maintenance drones detached from the Blackstar's hull. "Because we still use chemical rockets for some operations. Because we never fully abandoned traditional physics for their quantum tech doctrine." She turned to face her command staff, each chosen not just for their skills, but for their ability to think beyond conventional boundaries. "The hegemony believes they understand humanity's capabilities. They've calculated every variable, mapped every technology we've shown them. But they made one critical mistake." Catherine walked to the central tactical display, where a simulation showed the hegemony's crystalline ships advancing through the solar system. Their vessels were beautiful, all geometric precision, and captured starlight. The Blackstar was their opposite in every way, a ship that denied light itself. "They assumed we would play by their rules," she continued, "that we would try to match their technology step for step. Instead, we looked backward to move forward. The Blackstar doesn't use their quantum shields. It uses gravity itself as armor. Instead of antimatter torpedoes, we weaponized dark matter. While they focused on mastering space, we learned to manipulate the fabric of reality itself." A priority alert flashed across the command screens. Captain Torres accessed the message, his dark eyes widening. "Admiral, New Venus has fallen. The hegemony ships, they appeared inside the defense grid. Some kind of advanced phase technology we've never seen before." Catherine's expression hardened. The hegemony had finally shown their true capabilities, far beyond what they'd demonstrated in their supposed peaceful exchanges with humanity. "They think they're hunting sheep," she said quietly. "Time to show them they've walked into a wolf's den. Begin emergency crew boarding. We launch in 4 hours." Throughout Europa Station, carefully selected crew members rushed to their posts. Unlike the hegemony's largely automated ships, the Blackstar required human operators for its most crucial systems. The aliens saw this as primitive. They were about to learn otherwise. In the ship's engineering heart, Dr. Victor Rossi monitored the dark matter core as it pulsed with power that defied conventional physics. The hegemony had dismissed dark matter as a cosmic curiosity. Humanity had turned it into both shield and sword. "Dark matter containment holding steady," Victor reported, his Italian accent thickening with tension. "Gravitational lensing field is operational. We're as ready as we'll ever be." Catherine watched as the final preparations were completed. The Blackstar represented everything the hegemony had dismissed about humanity. Their stubborn refusal to abandon old ideas, their ability to find strength in apparent weakness, their talent for turning scientific orthodoxy on its head. The ship's dark matter drive hummed to life, creating a localized bubble of altered spacetime around the vessel. To any observer, human or alien, the Blackstar simply ceased to exist, becoming a void in space itself. "All hands, battle stations," Catherine commanded. "Prepare for Operation Prometheus." As crew members rushed to their positions, Catherine allowed herself a grim smile. The hegemony thought they had humanity figured out, thought they had calculated every possibility. They hadn't realized that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology. It was their stubborn refusal to accept limitations. In 4 hours, the galaxy would learn why humans had never stopped asking, "What if?" Why they had never abandoned their curiosity about roads not taken. And most importantly, they would learn why every human child was still taught to think outside the box. The hegemony's fleet would arrive expecting to find a primitive species scrambling to mount a defense with inferior technology. Instead, they would face something they had never encountered before, a shadow that struck without warning, a vessel that broke the laws of physics as they understood them, and a crew that had turned the aliens' own assumptions into a weapon. The hunt was about to begin. And this time, humanity would be the predator. Commander James Rodriguez stood at his tactical station aboard the USS Blackstar, watching as the holographic display showed the hegemony supply fleet moving through the Kuiper Belt. Their crystalline ships moved with perfect precision, their crews completely unaware of the predator lurking in the void nearby. "Multiple capital-class transport vessels detected," he reported, his fingers dancing over the quantum blast interface. "They're moving supplies to support their main invasion fleet." Counting 15 ships, heavily armed escort vessels on standard patrol patterns. Admiral Drake's voice carried from the command chair, steady and calm. "They still haven't detected us." "No, ma'am," Lieutenant Emma Chen confirmed from her station. "The dark matter field is performing beyond expectations. We're literally a hole in space to their sensors." The Blackstar had been shadowing the hegemony fleet for 6 hours, using its revolutionary drive to stay completely undetected. The alien ship's advanced quantum sensors were useless against technology that operated on principles they had never conceived. "Their arrogance is their weakness," Emma added, studying the sensor readings. "They're not even running active scans. They think nothing could possibly threaten them this far from Earth." Catherine smiled grimly. "Time to shatter that illusion. Commander Rodriguez, designate primary targets. Dr. Rossi, prepare the dark matter lance for sequential firing." In engineering, Victor Rossi monitored the pulsing heart of their weapons system. Unlike conventional energy weapons, the dark matter lance created localized points of altered spacetime, microscopic regions where the very laws of physics broke down. "Lance charged and ready," Victor reported. "Gravitational containment fields at maximum stability. We can fire 3 shots before requiring a recycle sequence." Catherine stood, moving to the tactical display. The hegemony thinks they've seen everything humanity can throw at them. Time to expand their horizons. Target the lead transport vessel. Let's show them what happens when they underestimate Earth. The Blackstar moved silently into position, its dark hull invisible against the star field. The alien fleet continued their stately progress, their crews likely relaxed and confident in their superior technology. "Target locked," James announced. "Firing solution computed, dark matter lance aligned." Fire. The weapon discharged without a sound, without a flash, without any visible sign of its activation. But its effect was devastating. A pinpoint breach in reality itself lanced out, striking the lead transport ship at its engineering section. For a fraction of a second, a microscopic region of space experienced physics that defied comprehension. The result was catastrophic. The transport ship didn't explode. It imploded, its hull crumpling inward as space itself seemed to fold around the point of impact. Secondary explosions rippled through its structure as its quantum core destabilized. "By the stars," Emma whispered, watching the sensor readings. "The dark matter cascade is spreading through their quantum field network. Their shields aren't just failing, they're turning into a liability." Before the escort ships could react, James had already locked onto the second target. Another silent shot, another devastating implosion. The hegemony fleet erupted into chaos, their perfect formation breaking apart as ships tried to identify an enemy they couldn't see. "Their quantum communications are going crazy," Emma reported, monitoring the alien transmissions. They don't understand what's happening. Their sensors aren't designed to detect anything like this." Catherine watched as the alien ships began firing blindly into space, their energy weapons useless against the Blackstar's dark matter field. "Launch phantom drones," she ordered. "Let's add to their confusion." Small, dark matter-shrouded drones deployed from the Blackstar, each one creating its own gravitational distortion. To the hegemony sensors, it would appear as if space itself was breaking down around them. James studied the tactical display intently, then suddenly straightened. "Admiral, I'm detecting something unusual in their communication patterns. There's a secondary channel hidden in their quantum network. Something they're trying to keep secret even from their own crews." Catherine moved to his station. "Can you decrypt it?" "Working on it," James replied, his fingers flying over the controls. "It's heavily encoded, but there's a pattern here. It's not just military communications. They're scared, Admiral. Not just of us, but of something else. Something they're not telling their own people." "Archive everything," Catherine ordered. "This could be important. In the meantime, let's finish what we came here to do. Target their fuel tankers next. Without supplies, their invasion fleet will be forced to delay their advance." The battle, if it could even be called that, continued for another 20 minutes. When it was over, the hegemony supply fleet had been reduced to drifting debris, their quantum crystal ships shattered by forces they couldn't comprehend. As the Blackstar prepared to withdraw, James continued analyzing the captured communications. "Admiral," he said finally, his voice tense, "I've partially decoded some of the hidden transmissions. The hegemony, they're not just attacking Earth because they think we're primitive. They're attacking because they're afraid. Something about our dark matter research terrifies them." Catherine's eyes narrowed. "Access the ship's quantum archive. Cross-reference everything we have on hegemony scientific development. There's something they're not telling us, something they're trying to prevent. And we need to find out what it is before their main fleet reaches Earth." The Blackstar vanished back into the void, leaving behind a graveyard of crystalline ships and a mystery that could change the course of the war. The hegemony's secret was out there, hidden in their quantum transmissions, and humanity's survival might depend on uncovering it before it was too late. Deep within the U.S. Blackstar's quantum computing core, Lieutenant Emma Chen stared at the decoded hegemony transmissions, her eyes wide with disbelief. The holographic data streams surrounding her told a story so incredible that she had triple-checked her calculations before even considering reporting it. "Admiral," she called out, her voice tight with urgency. "You need to see this immediately." Catherine Drake arrived moments later, accompanied by Commander Rodriguez and Dr. Rossi. The tension in Emma's voice had been enough to pull them all from their posts. "What have you found?" Catherine asked, studying the complex patterns of quantum data. Emma manipulated the holographic display, highlighting key sections of the decoded transmissions. "It's not just about our dark matter technology, Admiral. It's about what we might discover through it." She took a deep breath. The hegemony isn't an empire, it's a prison guard. The revelation hung in the air as Emma expanded the display, showing ancient star charts and quantum equations. They've been suppressing technological development across the galaxy for millennia. Any species that gets close to discovering certain principles about space-time manipulation is either absorbed or eliminated. "But why?" James asked, leaning closer to examine the data. "What are they so afraid of?" Dr. Rossi's eyes suddenly widened as he studied the quantum mathematics. "Madre de Dio," he whispered. "It's about consciousness, about reality itself." Emma nodded. The hegemony discovered something long ago, something that terrified them so much they've spent thousands of years making sure no other species could reach the same understanding. our dark matter research. We're accidentally approaching it from a completely different direction than anyone else." Catherine's expression hardened. "Explain." "The universe isn't what we think it is," Emma continued, pulling up more decoded data. "The hegemony found evidence that consciousness, sentient thought itself, can directly influence the fundamental structure of space-time. They discovered that advanced civilizations, as they develop certain technologies, begin to unconsciously manipulate reality itself. That's why they're so afraid of us," James realized. "Humans have been doing things their science says are impossible. We're not just developing new technology. We're starting to unconsciously bend reality through sheer force of will." Dr. Rossi hurried to a nearby console, pulling up data from the Blackstar's dark matter core. "Of course," he muttered. "The efficiency variations in the drive. They're not random. They're correlating with crew thoughts and emotions. We're not just using the dark matter. We're beginning to influence it directly." A priority alert suddenly blared through the ship. "Multiple quantum space ruptures detected," called out the sensor officer. "Massive hegemony fleet incoming." Catherine rushed to the bridge, the others closed behind. The tactical display showed dozens of crystalline ships emerging from quantum space, their formation perfect and deadly. "They found us," James said, taking his station. "No," Catherine replied, studying the enemy fleet's position. "They're not here for us. That's their main invasion force, right on schedule. They're heading for Earth." Emma's hands flew over her console. "Admiral, I'm detecting quantum communication signals, massive amounts of data being transmitted to their fleet. They're—" She paused, double-checking her readings. "They're trying to suppress something. Some kind of quantum field that extends throughout the solar system." Dr. Rossi connected his engineering displays to the bridge. "The dark matter readings are off the scale. Whatever the hegemony is trying to suppress, it's affecting space-time throughout the entire region." Catherine watched as the massive alien fleet moved with pristine coordination, their ships creating a complex quantum network. "They're not just here to stop our technological development," she realized. "They're here to stop humanity itself from reaching its potential, from becoming something they can't control." "Admiral," Emma called out, her voice urgent. "I'm detecting something else in their transmissions. A location. Coordinates to something they call the archive. It's where they store all the knowledge they've suppressed, everything they've hidden from the galaxy." James studied the tactical display. "It's in the Oort cloud, hidden in a pocket of distorted space-time. We could reach it, but the Earth will be defenseless against their main fleet," Catherine finished. The weight of command pressed down on her shoulders as she considered their options. The hegemony fleet continued its advance, their ships spreading out in attack formation. Soon, they would be in range of Earth's outer defenses. But now, humanity knew the truth. This wasn't just a war for survival, but a battle for the right to evolve, to grow, to become something more than they were. "Plot a course for Earth," Catherine ordered, her decision made. "But download all the coordinates and data about this archive. Humanity needs to know what we're really fighting for." She turned to Emma. "Send a quantum burst transmission to Earth Command. Tell them everything we've learned. They need to understand what's really at stake." As the Blackstar's engines powered up, Catherine watched the hegemony fleet on the tactical display. They thought they were here to suppress a dangerous species, to maintain their control over reality itself. Instead, they had awakened something they couldn't possibly suppress: humanity's boundless potential and their absolute refusal to be caged. "They wanted to keep us from evolving," Catherine said quietly. "Instead, they've given us the ultimate reason to transcend our limitations. All hands, battle stations. We're going to show them exactly what humanity is capable of when we're fighting for our very right to grow." The bridge of the USS Blackstar thrummed with tension as Earth grew larger on their main viewport. Behind the planet, the hegemony's invasion fleet spread across space like a crystalline web, their ships forming complex geometric patterns that seemed to distort the very fabric of reality. Their quantum suppression field is intensifying, Emma reported, her fingers dancing across her console. They're not just trying to attack Earth, they're attempting to lock down the fundamental forces of spacetime in this entire sector. Dr. Rossi's voice came through from engineering, tight with excitement. Admiral, remember how we discovered the crew's consciousness was affecting our dark matter drive? I've been analyzing the data. The effect isn't random, it's exponential. The more we understand about it, the stronger it becomes. Catherine Drake stood from her command chair, watching as the first exchanges of fire began between Earth's defense fleet and the hegemony's advance forces. Conventional weapons flashed against quantum shields, a battle fought with rules the aliens had established over millennia. They've spent thousands of years making sure every species fights exactly the way they expect, she mused. But humanity has always excelled at changing the rules entirely. She turned to her crew. What if we stopped trying to suppress our effect on the dark matter drive? What if we amplified it instead? Emma's eyes widened as she ran the calculations. That's insane, Admiral. We'd be deliberately destabilizing spacetime itself. Exactly, Catherine smiled. The one thing the hegemony fears most. Commander Rodriguez broadcast on all frequencies. It's time to let Earth know they're not fighting alone. The Blackstar emerged from its dark matter cloaked directly behind the hegemony's fleet. On Earth's defense platforms, sensors suddenly detected a void in space itself, a shadow that shouldn't exist. This is Admiral Catherine Drake of the USS Blackstar to all Earth forces. Catherine's voice rang out across the quantum communications network. The hegemony isn't here to conquer us. They're here to suppress what we're becoming. Their greatest weakness isn't their technology, it's their fear of change. Across the battlefield, human ships began to respond. The defense fleet, which had been fighting a losing battle against superior technology, turned to face their enemies with renewed purpose. Dr. Rossi, Catherine commanded, initiate Protocol Prometheus. Let's show them why they should have let humanity evolve naturally. In engineering, Victor Rossi began the procedure they had theorized, but never dared to attempt. The dark matter core's containment fields were gradually adjusted, allowing the crew's consciousness to interact more directly with the fundamental forces they were manipulating. The effect was immediate and stunning. The space around the Blackstar began to ripple with possibilities, reality itself responding to human willpower. The hegemony fleet's perfect formation suddenly wavered as their quantum sensors detected something their science said was impossible. Their suppression field is weakening, Emma reported with wonder. Our effect on local spacetime is cascading through their network. We're not just fighting their technology. We're proving their entire worldview wrong. The hegemony fleet responded with overwhelming force, their crystalline ships launching a barrage of quantum weaponry that could shatter planets. But the Blackstar moved like a dream through the assault, the crew's collective will literally bending probability around them. Multiple ships are breaking formation, James called out. Their quantum network is experiencing massive disruptions. They can't maintain their suppression field while fighting us. Catherine watched as reality itself seemed to flicker and dance around them. Send the signal to Earth's defense fleet. Tell them to stop trying to fight conventionally. Remember their training. Trust their instincts. And believe in the impossible. Across the battlefield, human ships began to exhibit strange phenomena. Weapons fired with impossible accuracy, shields held against forces that should have overwhelmed them, and maneuvers succeeded that defied the laws of physics. Humanity's collective will, freed from the hegemony suppression, was beginning to express itself. Admiral, Emma's voice was filled with awe. The quantum readings. Earth itself is responding. The entire planet's biosphere is creating some kind of resonance effect with our dark matter field. On the tactical display, the hegemony fleet's perfect geometric patterns began to break down. Their ships, designed to enforce a rigid, controlled version of reality, found themselves unable to cope with spacetime that responded to consciousness and possibility. They never understood, Catherine said softly. They thought suppressing technological development would prevent species from evolving beyond their control. Instead, they created pressure that forced humanity to evolve in ways they never imagined. The battle raged across the solar system, but it was no longer just a conflict of weapons and shields. It was a clash between two fundamentally different views of reality: the hegemony's controlled, suppressed universe, and humanity's realm of infinite possibility. Their flagship is changing position, James reported. They're bringing something online, some kind of massive quantum device. That's their last resort, Emma realized, studying the readings. They're going to try to create a permanent suppression field around the entire solar system. If they succeed. They won't, Catherine interrupted. Because we're going to show them exactly what happens when you try to cage the human spirit. Dr. Rossi, prepare for maximum dark matter field expansion. Commander Rodriguez, signal the fleet. It's time for humanity to break free of their chains completely. The Blackstar's dark matter core pulsed with power that responded directly to human consciousness as the final phase of the battle for humanity's future began. The hegemony was about to learn that some forces cannot be suppressed. They can only be embraced and evolved beyond. The void between Earth and Mars had become a battlefield where reality itself was at stake. The hegemony flagship, a massive crystalline structure that dwarfed all other ships, pulsed with building energy as it prepared to activate its solar system-wide suppression field. Around it, space itself seemed to shiver with anticipation. Their quantum device is reaching critical power levels, Emma reported from her station aboard the Blackstar. Whatever they're planning, it's going to happen soon. Admiral Catherine Drake watched the tactical display as the remainder of Earth's defense fleet regrouped around their position. The human ships moved with an almost organic coordination now, their crews instinctively tapping into abilities that the hegemony had spent millennia trying to suppress. Dr. Rossi, Catherine called to engineering. Status of the dark matter core. It's evolving, Victor replied, his voice filled with wonder. The quantum resonance with the crew's consciousness is creating patterns I'd never seen before. It's as if the drive itself is learning, adapting, becoming something more than we designed. On the main viewer, the hegemony flagship's crystalline surface began to fragment into impossible geometries, each facet bending light in ways that hurt to look at directly. Their supreme weapon was designed to do more than just destroy. It would rewrite the fundamental laws of physics in this region of space, permanently suppressing humanity's emerging abilities. They're trying to lock reality itself into their preferred configuration, Emma realized, studying the readings. If they succeed, humanity will never be able to evolve beyond their limitations. We'll be trapped in their version of physics forever. Catherine stood from her command chair, her decision made. That's not going to happen. Humanity didn't come this far, didn't survive ice ages and plagues and our own worst impulses just to be caged by someone else's fears. She turned to her crew. We're going to show them what happens when you try to suppress the human spirit. Admiral, James called out urgently, the hegemony flagship is transmitting something. A message on all frequencies. The bridge speakers crackled with an alien voice, its tones carrying both authority and fear. Humanity, you do not understand the forces you are unleashing. We have seen civilizations destroy themselves by reaching beyond their limitations. The barriers we create are for your own protection. Catherine's response was immediate. We understand perfectly. You're afraid of change, afraid of evolution, afraid of what consciousness can become when it's not bound by artificial limitations. But change is what we do best. Commander Rodriguez, plot an intercept course with their flagship. Dr. Rossi, prepare to take the dark matter core beyond all safety protocols. The Blackstar surged forward, its hull rippling with possibilities as the crew's collective consciousness merged more deeply with the drive. Around them, reality seemed to flicker between states, the very fabric of space-time responding to human will. Admiral, Emma's voice was tight with concern. If we push the dark matter core any further, we risk creating a cascade effect. We could trigger a permanent alteration in local spacetime. That's exactly what we're going to do, Catherine replied. But instead of their version of reality, we're going to show them ours. Signal the fleet. Tell them to focus everything they have on the flagship's quantum device. Not just their weapons, their will, their hopes, their absolute refusal to be bound. The battle that followed defied conventional description. The hegemony flagship fired weapons that should have annihilated the Blackstar instantly, but the human ship flowed around them like smoke, its form becoming increasingly fluid as the crew's connection to the dark matter core deepened. Earth's defense fleet moved in perfect synchronization, their attacks guided by more than just targeting computers. Each impact on the flagship's crystal hull sent fractures through reality itself, creating cracks in the hegemony's rigid version of physics. Their quantum device is reaching maximum power, Emma reported. They're going to trigger it. Now, Dr. Rossi, Catherine commanded, take us beyond the barriers. In engineering, Victor Rossi released the final safeguards on the dark matter core. The Blackstar's hull became a window into possibility itself, each panel reflecting a different version of reality. The crew's consciousness, fully merged with the drive, reached out to touch the fundamental forces of the universe. The hegemony flagship's quantum device activated in a burst of impossible light. For a moment, it seemed as if reality would freeze, crystallizing into their controlled version of physics. But they had underestimated the power of conscious will to shape the universe. The Blackstar's dark matter field met their suppression wave head-on. Where they touched, space itself seemed to hold its breath, caught between two competing visions of reality. Then, slowly but inexorably, the rigid crystal lattice of the hegemony's physics began to crack. It's working, Emma whispered in awe. Their suppression field. It's failing. The quantum readings. I've never seen anything like this. Reality itself is choosing. Through the growing cracks in the hegemony's field came something new, a version of physics that responded to consciousness, that allowed for growth and change and evolution. The flagship's crystal hull began to dissolve as its rigid structure couldn't cope with a universe that refused to be bound by absolute laws. To all ships, Catherine broadcast, her voice carried on waves of possibility. Push forward. Show them what humanity dreams of becoming. The combined will of Earth's fleet, channeled through the Blackstar's dark matter core, struck the hegemony flagship like a tsunami of pure potential. Its crystalline structure, designed to enforce unchanging laws of physics, shattered under the impact of a species that refused to stop growing. The explosion that followed wasn't one of energy or matter, but of possibility itself. Where the hegemony flagship had been, reality rippled outward in waves of change, breaking their suppression fields across the solar system. Their remaining ships, suddenly faced with physics they couldn't control, began to retreat in disarray. On the Blackstar's bridge, the crew watched in wonder as space itself seemed to shimmer with new potential. The quantum readings are stabilizing, Emma reported. But they're different. The basic laws of physics are the same, but they're flexible now, responsive to consciousness in a way they never were before. Catherine smiled as she watched the hegemony fleet flee through their quantum gates. They wanted to suppress our evolution to preserve their version of reality. Instead, they forced us to break through to something greater. She turned to her crew. Humanity's journey isn't about reaching a final destination. It's about never stopping, never accepting limitations, always pushing beyond what seems possible. As the Blackstar turned back toward Earth, its hull still rippling with possibilities, the crew could feel reality itself responding to their thoughts and dreams. The hegemony had tried to cage humanity's potential, but in doing so, they had only proven what humans had always known in their hearts, that the greatest barrier to evolution was the belief in barriers itself. The war was over, but humanity's real journey was just beginning. They had broken free not just from alien suppression, but from the very concept of absolute limitations. The universe, they had discovered, was not a rigid set of laws to be obeyed, but a canvas of infinite possibility waiting for consciousness to paint upon it. And somewhere in the depths of space, the hegemony would learn to fear not just humanity's technology, but their most dangerous weapon of all: their unshakable belief that there was always another barrier to break, another horizon to reach, another impossible dream to make real.